Okay, well, you know, even though I'm cutting off this riveting conversation and debate, it is 7:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the March 9th Policy Committee meeting. We ready to go? I forget what happens next. You go. Yeah, your turn. Okay, boss.
Happy to take over. Looks like we're sharing a mic here, Ed. So this evening we have a few policies that will be moving forward that we've talked about a few times here at the Policy Committee meeting, and then a set of policies that we'll go through in a little bit greater detail, although as you'll see under the category of for review, many of these policies are recommended by the administration to mark as review items, as they are sort of compliance documents in some ways and still accurately reflect our practices. So we can get into that once we get to that portion of the agenda, and then some future discussion items at the end. So as for a beginning place, we are looking at civility, which is on page 1 of your packet. We've looked at that a few times over the course of this year. There are no new changes to this since we've last discussed it, so it's ready for adoption. And together with that is the board procedures, which is the equivalent of an administrative regulation, though it applies to board process, and that begins on page 3. And similarly, we are moving both forward without further changes proposed.
Just trying to refresh my memory on this one. Last time we talked and we went back and forth, and I may have missed it in between, so I apologize. Did we work out the language to talk about an inclusive level of civility in the room?
We did talk through that, and I think what happened was there were two separate statements that sort of refer to that, and we ended up with the third paragraph, I think, was the last discussion we had on that, pointing to that first sentence, which was intended to be all-inclusive of that expectation to model civility. So that's sort of where I recall that we landed on that discussion.
Yeah, thank you for the updated language. I also appreciate the update to the other complaints and calling out that they should be reviewed through successive administrative levels to the superintendent and subsequently to the board. That's the first time I've seen the language stepped out, and I just appreciate that modeling of guardrails so not everything goes right to Dr. Ranelli, because our administrators and other leaders can do their work. So I like that language. Any other questions or comments, Juanita? No? Okay. And Jason is not here but has reviewed everything. So, okay. So we can, do you want to do the other one first and then move them both forward, or?
Sure.
Okay.
Happy to do that. The next one is policy 217, and we brought this one forward a little bit out of order, but also made sense to us because we were discussing graduation requirements in the curriculum committee meetings regarding the new financial literacy standards. So what we did was incorporate that into the policy, as well as reorganize the policy a bit to align with how we've shared this information with families through our program planning guide, which Scott is holding in his hands right now. So I think it's a more familiar document to our families, and we wanted to not create confusion by saying it's written a little differently here than there, so why not just make it more consistent? So that's the formatting change is intended to align with what I think people commonly refer to. So those were the two updates to this policy.
Any questions or comments? Okay. So I move for us to push both of those forward. Curry and Juanita, are you all good?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Binka. Are you, do you have anything or any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, sorry I didn't ask you earlier. Okay.
Okay, so the next policy on the agenda is a first reading for repeal. We brought this up at the last meeting. It's policy 129, Scholars Programs of Studies. And I would say one of the reasons we go through this exercise of reviewing policies on a perhaps ideally a more regular basis than this one, we discovered that it's not a policy that's currently used or is active, and I refer to it as defunct. So we did do a check around to our school teams, and we're in agreement that it makes sense for us to propose repealing this policy. It certainly doesn't foreclose opportunities in the future to think about something like this, and as we're entering a new era of a strategic plan, maybe in the future that's something we could revisit. So I just want to be clear, it doesn't mean now it's forever banished, but because it's not being utilized, it made sense for us to repeal it.
Any questions, or did you have something? No. Okay. Great. So we'll repeal that.
All right, and so just for the good of the group, we, with a repeal, we'll still do 2 readings, so you'll see it the next time for repeal. It's just the process.
Sounds good.
Then going into that next section of policies for review, you'll note that there's one administrative regulation that we are continuing to do some work on, and we'll focus on that after we, I think, get through this just chunk of policies that we're reviewing, and that's AR 106, Adoption of Courses of Study, which is a little meatier, and we're just working through some of the language. Open for, questions today, but know that we will probably bring back a more finalized version next time. But at the top of that batch of policies is policy 128, instrumental music. Again, all of these under for review are indicate that as an administrative team, we've reviewed this. We say this is consistent with practice. If there's a need for a legal review, we're getting that from Whistler. So for 128, there are no proposed changes. So I can do these one at a time, or I could do it as a batch, whatever you prefer.
So this is just more of a curiosity. So when we looked at 128, what are the accommodations that are made when a student doesn't have the ability to hold or to set up a physical instrument? I mean, I feel like throughout the school years, a voice is also always considered a musical instrument, but this really sounds like a physical thing. So if that is, what's the layering that we do? If it feels like everybody does it and some kids can't, how do we layer that?
I don't know
Sorry.
if anyone is here to give more specific examples, but it's...